Hey friends, Sam Haymart for Test Driven TV. I've been spending some time this week with the 2016 Chevrolet Silverado 1500 LTZ Z71, fully loaded. Just about everything known to man on this truck. Now the thing about Chevrolet is they've been number 2 now for a very long time, right behind Ford, and the guys at GM, they can't be happy with that, and I think they prove it every year because like this truck right here, it was all new for 2014, and 2015 and 2016 they rolled out new features, new design touches. They're always improving this truck, trying to make it better, make it more competitive, and so in test driving it today, that's really what I want to find out is, does it have what it takes to be number 1 yet? Among the new for 2016 stuff is the big up front you see here. The Silverado gets new grille designs across the board as well as a reshaped bumper fascia with new trims. Our LTZ Z71 here has a body color grille and LED headlights with the latest Las Vegas style accents. The hood design is new too, with a nice sculpted look and some insets that look perfect for heat extractor vents someday down the road if Chevrolet ever offers a high performance package. Our tester here was also upgraded with the 20-inch chrome wheels that, while big, still don't look like it in their huge square openings. At the rear, the LTZ gets LED tail lamps to go along with its body-colored bumper, which still sports Chevrolet's now trademarked steps. Also optioned on our tester was a sturdy set of chrome step rails with heavy rubber grips. The power sliding rear window was a nice touch too. Inside we have leather seats that are power operated, heated and ventilated up front, along with premium trims on the center console and door panels. With the LTZ you also get a top tier 8-inch MyLink infotainment, audio and navigation system. From behind the wheel, this is a pretty comfortable truck. These seats are adjustable in almost every way, as is the steering wheel, so getting a seating position here is not going to be a hard thing for most people, and we've got a few short people in our office. They didn't have a hard time either. Now, the big thing about trucks for me is practicality, right? Because even though we've got all these features here, and that's great, if it's not practical, if it's not usable every day, that's a big deal. And here I think they've done a good job. There's lots of storage here inside the console, big cup holders, there's a big deep storage well here for your phone, whatever it might be. They've got a ton of ports here. There's 2 USB, 2 12-volt, and then there's a 110 outlet right there where you can get to them. I like that. And then all the switches for everything important, all of your controls for your lighting, your traction control, the hill descent control, all of those things right there. Now this also has the trailer brake controller, and they've got it right up here on the left, up high where you can see it and reach it, not kind of hidden down here where, quite honestly, if you're towing a trailer and you're going down the hill and you're thinking, boy, I need my trailer brakes, do you really need to be kind of hunting and pecking for it down here under the steering wheel someplace? No, you don't. Now, a couple other little features. This is fully loaded, so it has a wireless phone charger. They've placed it right here on top of the console. It's not in the way, and I really like that location because if you've got somebody in the back and they want to use it, yet they don't want to have their phone tethered or far away where they can't reach it if it rings, that's a nice spot because everybody in the truck can reach it. I think that's pretty cool. Now, one last thing I will point out is Apple Carplay is now available this year on the infotainment system. That is great, but I'm an Android user, so I feel a little bit left out there. Rear seats aren't adjustable or heated, but fold upward in a 60-40 split for the ability to carry tall items back here like a big screen TV or a lot of gear for your trips, and they fold up quite easily. All right, there. You know, I almost really don't need to do this with a full-size pickup because whenever I've got in the back of these full-size 4-door cabs, it's cavernous back here. As you can see, there's plenty of room for my legs, headroom, every metric. It's just gargantuan. But the thing I will point out is seating position here. As you can see, seems a little bit low for my tastes. My knees are perched up here, and with all the headroom and space that this cab has, there's no reason they couldn't raise this up just a little bit more and make this seating position a little bit more natural. The other thing that I think is missing is we've got USB ports up front. There's 2 of them. That's a good thing, but there aren't any back here. There is a 12-volt port right here, but if you had devices you wanted to plug in and charge or play with back here, you'd have to run a cord all the way up there to the front. And some of the competitors are now offering ports back here. And the other thing missing, I think, especially at this price range, Hvac vents.
there's none back here, and this is a pretty big cab. Going to be pretty hot or pretty cold depending on where you're at.
Overall, the interior is well put together with trims of a pretty high quality for the class, even though its design didn't mesh with my aesthetic tastes. Fit and finish were good, and it has a well-designed and well-thought-out layout for controls and storage spots. It earns 5 of 5 stars. To the technology, while I groused about the absence of Android Auto, it will be available later in the 2016 model year. The infotainment system is easy enough to use and learn. Audio quality was okay, but not what I would call top end. Overall, technology scores in at 4 of 5 stars. Under the hood is a 5.3-liter Ecotec V8, which this year is now available in the LTZ with an 8-speed automatic transmission. This, with the engine's variable valve timing, direct injection, and variable displacement, contribute to a higher fuel economy to go with its 355 horsepower. So what you just heard there is Chevrolet's way of tuning the sound of this vehicle. Some of the truck makers, like the last generation Nissan Titan, they gave you a loud growl with an exhaust note. Ford, actually not much different than this. Ram likes a little bit more V8 sound. I think General Motors here has sort of settled in on this, more of a smooth, distant kind of rumble. It doesn't really hit you in the face with a fist when it comes to engine sound. So if you like the Chevy truck and you want some exhaust note, you're gonna have to get yourself some Flowmasters. But what I found is power is adequate here. It's not quite as much as the Toyota Tundra, obviously, and Ford's EcoBoost 3.5, even though the horsepower isn't that much different, that engine does give you a little bit more of a push in the back than this does. And in the Ram, well, they're 5.7 Hemi at least. It gives you a little bit more drama, so I don't know how it actually clocks out if you're timing the thing for acceleration, but that engine certainly makes you feel like you're blowing and going. This one just feels a little bit more relaxed. The new 8-speed transmission behaves well most of the time, but can seem to hunt around a bit in city driving, but not too badly. It brings the EPA fuel economy to 15 mpg city, 21 mpg highway, and 17 mpg combined. I was able to achieve 20 mpg in my week with it combined city and highway. Not bad at all. See, it all fits now. Last fall I asked the GM guys what they had in mind to compete with Ford in their EcoBoost V6 and Ram with their EcoDiesel. They just kind of shrugged it off and said, "We're pretty happy with what we've got." I was pretty impressed as well, as it earns 4 of 5 stars. Moving on to the chassis, the Z71 package on our tester here gets you a number of upgrades. Among them are heavier duty Rancho off-road shocks, an auto-locking rear differential, a skid plate for the transfer case, and the all-important Z71 graphics.
Now, one thing I always love to do is bring a truck or a crossover or a sport utility vehicle out here to the desert washboard road. And this is because even though this isn't really hardcore off-roading, it does a great job of showing how well put together this is, how well sorted the chassis is, and how well it isolates this rhythmic vibrating surface through the chassis, through the structure. And what I'm finding out here is that, well, like my past experience with GM pickup trucks, is it's got a pretty stiff suspension. And so that translates a lot of rhythm up into the structure and into the interior here. And that can be a good thing or a bad thing depending on what your tastes are. Basically what I'm saying is this has a stiff ride, so all of these bumps and this washboard surface, it's just transmitting in here pretty strongly, and it makes this chassis just a little bit on the skittery side, I think, which is to say you can feel it sort of doing the dance around here on this surface. The other thing I'm noticing too is just a little bit of vibration and a little bit of shuddering on the interior trims here over some of these surfaces. And I bring it up because in a comparative sense, the last Ford F-150 I drove out here, which was one of the new aluminum body trucks, it was pretty shaky out here. Also, the Toyota Tundra that I drove out here, that one I'd say was a great example of a truck that was very tight. The ride was very well isolated from a lot of this shaking and shuddering. Now, taking this off that washboard road onto a more challenging off-road environment here, I'm finding that even though this is a very large truck, it's still pretty nimble. The steering has a nice, it's pretty light, so it doesn't feel like it's too heavy. too clumsy out here. But like that washboard road, one of the things I am finding is that this is a very stiffly sprung suspension. It does beat you around quite a bit out here on some of the rougher stuff. And some of that might be attributable to its larger 20-inch wheels. But I am noticing quite a bit of crashing going on with the suspension as it really comes up and hits those bumpers. So it's a choice they've made in tuning the suspension very stiffly. And some people like that. For me, it's just always been my off-road preference for a bit more compliance so that you can really blow and go out here without getting beat to death. Now, even though I spent a lot of time off-roading this thing and sort of getting out in the dirt, 99% of the people that own this truck are going to be spending it right here on the highway where I'm at right now. And here, it does exactly what it's meant to. It offers a very quiet and stable ride. The chassis doesn't feel flittery at all, and that basically means I'm not getting any nervousness or shuddering over this less than smooth highway. Sometimes trucks can be a little bit like that because they don't have a stiff enough frame or the body isn't as stiff as it could be. Not happening here. This actually has a very nice stable ride, which is comfortable and, well, it's quiet.
The truck's road manners on the highway were indeed night and day from the choppy and jittery buckboard ride off the pavement. Some might consider this a sign of a tough truck, but I've driven too many others that don't offer up this Jekyll and Hyde personality. The chassis earns 4 or 5 stars. Quality feel when it comes to a pickup truck is always a tough measure, as they aren't always built to the same tolerances as passenger cars. The interior was well put together with good materials, but the exterior showed variances in paint finish and some panel alignment gaffes that really need improvement. Thus, quality feel comes in at 4 or 5 stars.
All right, folks, rounding it up for the Chevrolet Silverado, let's have a look at the specs. As you can see right here, right around $52,000 and some change on this one. We're pretty close to fully loaded, though you could spend a little bit more money with some different variations there on the options or packages. Now, 20 mpg, that was pretty impressive. The only driving characteristic I really made any complaint about here was the fact that I thought out here in the rough, the suspension tuning was a little bit stiffer than I think it should be, but that's always a personal taste. Now, overall, when it comes to value, the only thing I really could say is that I thought at this price, there were a few things missing inside, and we talked about those. So I put value at 4 stars. If you put that in with everything else we've already talked about, we're at 4 stars for the week. So if you're a Chevy guy, I just gave you one more reason to buy a Chevy truck. If you're a Ford or Ram guy, you're probably looking at a few things I wasn't happy with, and you were saying to yourself, that's right, I made my choice right. It's just the way it is. Anyway, I'm Sam Hamart for Test Driven TV. I hope you enjoyed the ride. Little personal story here. I talked a little bit about brand loyalty there in the end, and I bring that up because it's pretty important to a lot of people, especially American brands, especially when it comes to trucks. And I grew up in a Ford family, right? I mean, we always had Fords all the time, and that's all anyone ever drove. And if they didn't drive a Ford, they was just stupid. They didn't know nothing. And I say that tongue-in-cheek because, well, that's where I grew up. My mom one time, she broke the cardinal rule. She went out and bought a Buick behind my dad's back, and boy, did she ever pay for that. That car was a pile of crap. It broke all the time, it was recalled all the time, spent most of its life in the shop. And so, like a good wife, when it came time to turn that in and get a new vehicle, she got a Ford. So all was good in life again. Dad was happy, Mom was happy because now she had a Ford again, and life went on. Well, when I grew up, I went out and I was a rebellious child. I bought a Chevrolet Tahoe. And then I bought another one. And then after that, I got a Hummer H2. And there was a Corvette in there somewhere too. And my parents, they were like, where do we go wrong? They're pulling their hair out going, this kid's screwed up. One day, my mom calls me up and she says, it's time to get rid of my Ford Expedition. I've already had 3 of them. What do you think of that Chevrolet Avalanche? Well, I told her. Next time they came to visit, she's driving a new Chevy Avalanche. My dad's sitting in the passenger seat. She loved that thing, and it turned out to be a very good truck for her. The moral of the story is, don't let brand loyalty blind you. Don't let it limit your life, man. Have some fun. Inhale. You might just find out that there's more out there to life than just that one little thing that you always just do. Anyway, if you like the test drive, click on the link right here and subscribe to our YouTube channel. We test drive 1, sometimes 2 vehicles every week. Plus, we have a new video just like this almost every day. There's always something new. So stay tuned.